Hey everyone, I'm Nate Lambert with Red River, and today we're going to talk about phishing emails and how to identify what might be a suspicious email in your inbox to keep you a little more secure when using Microsoft Outlook. All right, so taking a look today at phishing emails, the first thing we want to talk about is what a phishing email is. There's obviously a lot of different types of potential phishing emails, but we'll just give you kind of the high-level definition for today. So a phishing email is a malicious attack attempt that is pretty frequent nowadays, where a malicious entity, some sort of hacking group or users will try to subvert an organization by sending what seems to be a normal email to a user or a group of users. And within that email, you'll then have some sort of either a download link or something that seems, regular, normal email correspondence that then ultimately ends up either opening you up to downloading malicious software or taking you to a malicious website. So one of the things that we really want to talk about today is what to look for in some of these potential threat emails, and then how you can maybe just do a few things in your day-to-day to kind of validate and make sure that, hey, I've got this email and that's a little suspicious. Do I know for certain that it's valid? So first thing here on the screen is I've kind of generated a sample malicious email for everyone just to kind of use as a reference point. And we're going to talk through a couple things that would stand out about this if you were to get something like this in your inbox. Things right away that should probably kind of ring the bell to you, and things you can look for in the future. So first is that this email wasn't addressed to anyone in particular by name. So it kind of looks like a form email. And while your HR or your marketing or your IT team may send out a form email like this, they're a little less common, especially when we start to look at the other context of this email, which we'll talk about in a second. So that immediately kind of jumps off the page to me as something a little peculiar about this. The second would be that I have no subject line here, and I also have this sort of large bold text in red, which certainly would get my attention, right? And when we talk through the subject of this email, it would stand out to me, but most of you are going to know your corporate or your personal correspondence in email. You're going to know people's general tone. I know that that's not something that typically would be sent in a Red River email, right? So immediately that's standing out to me, just knowing my corporate culture and just kind of the way people communicate, that automatically is kind of standing out. All right, so I see this email, right, that comes up. It's got really, really bright big text. It says, please update your direct deposit information immediately. That's catching my attention, right? It's in my inbox. I'm immediately worried, am I going to get paid on time? Like, what's the issue with my direct deposit? It's going to catch my attention, which phishing emails typically are designed to do that. One of the ways that can happen is it'll be addressed from maybe someone in the C-suite, your CEO or your COO, or your boss asking you to do something. And those are the kind of things that'll come to the top of your inbox and you'll say, oh, I should probably respond to this email because it's from my boss or from the CEO of my company. So now I'm reading this email and I'm pretty immediately kind of caught off guard here, right? Okay, direct deposit information. Let's see what this is about. The next thing I'll notice is that I'm getting sort of an immediate email from this person saying that my current banking information is incorrect and it could ultimately disrupt my paycheck, which again, getting my attention, but a little suspicious. There's, incorrect punctuation here. There's two periods on this particular sentence. That kind of stands out to me as incorrect. Please log into your HR system. It does give me a link here, which we'll talk about in a second, and it asks me to update this information as soon as possible. And it says that if there's no update performed, then there could be issues. And then I notice another kind of odd punctuation mark here with a semicolon, which kind of stands out. And then it directs me to email this help link at Red River if I have any questions. So that kind of makes sense so far, but still a little peculiar. And then last, thank you so much for this attention, kind of grammatically incorrect. Again, something that kind of stands out to me. So right off the bat, what I would say here is that, this doesn't look like a normal email, but it can be really, really easy for a user like yourself just to click on one of these links, right? You just say, oh yeah, I should log into our HR system. By and large, companies and your friends are probably not going to send you links like this. So one habit you should really get into when looking at a phishing email of this type, or a suspicious email rather, is to click on the link, but just hover. So rather than actually clicking on it first, and what's going to happen is you're going to notice that in Microsoft, it's going to pop up with just an example of what that hyperlink is. So in this instance, that's a malware link that's popped up. So that's clearly not my HR system. So this email clearly is fraudulent at this point, and I know that there's something going on here, right? This isn't a situation where A, this email is not coming from somebody that I think it should be coming from. B, I don't understand why this person would be emailing me about my direct deposit. And then C, I've now validated that this HR system link is actually some sort of something else, right? And one thing you really want to keep an eye out for is same thing with email hyperlinks. So most of us are familiar in Microsoft Outlook. You can click a link here. It would open and launch a new draft email. But here, when I hover above this link, again, I see a separate malware link being hyperlinked to this. This is a relatively easy thing to do technically, to just hyperlink over something, and you can make the text look like anything you want, but the link behind it could be something malicious. So you really want to get into the habit of not clicking on these links. The second you start to notice the incorrect grammar, the kind of poorly worded sentences, and ultimately kind of the suspicious things about this email. Now, once you've identified a potentially suspicious email, this is where what you do next is kind of dependent on the circumstance. If it's a personal email account, your best bet is just to delete it. Maybe reach out to the person who allegedly sent it to you and let them know that maybe their account has been compromised. Maybe a text or a phone call to that person. Now, if this is a work email, though, the rules are a little different. So first of all, you'd always want to follow your corporate IT's internal policy for phishing emails. You should have something like that. And if you're unaware of it, you should reach out to your IT department and find out what they would recommend. Standard best practice would be to not interact with the email at all. Contact your IT department or your help desk, either by phone or with a separate email. And most of the times they'll just want you to delete it, to maybe document what was in it, where you got it from, and then delete it. But by and large, you just never want to interact with these emails. Those links can often take you to sites where you download something on your computer. A lot of times it can happen without you even knowing. So just be extra vigilant when you're checking out your emails. Oftentimes these threats are really, really well masked. This one's a pretty good example because it's a little bit over the top. Sometimes there'll be additional logos and links that'll make them even harder to understand or identify. But this is just a good video to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding of what to look for and hopefully keep you a little more secure in the future. And that's all the time we have today to talk about phishing emails. I hope you learned something. Be sure to come on back and like, rate, review, subscribe on the YouTube channel for more security related information.